Tabris, T to the A to the B or IS, it's Tabris Legend, saying Jepic Energy.
When you ask anybody what the worst weapon in Splatoon 3 is, they'd probably say the Splat Brella along with a couple other weapons. But over time, Brella has gotten more consistent and in the upcoming Drizzle season is getting an amazing kit of Auto Bomb and Inject, which has got many people interested in trying the weapon, which is where this video comes in, where I'll be covering the basics to help you learn Brella just that little bit easier. Before I get into the main bit of the guide, we should first know more about the weapon. As the name suggests, it's the basic variant of the Brella class with no fancy extra gimmicks. It's just your basic shotgun weapon that fires pellets, and unlike many other games has a shield. The shield has a total HP of 500, and the number of pellets fired is 6, each dealing a total of 16.2 damage for a total of 81 as only 5 make contact. This makes Splat Brella a great option for fighting in a well coordinated team environment like those that are necessary to succeed in Splatoon. In terms of builds, it mostly comes down to making up for the poor mobility and ink inefficiency, which means at least one main of run speed up and 3 subs of swim speed up with 2 subs of ink saver main. But with Cooler being a popular choice right now, it's a great pairing with Brella, allows for more freedom when building gear. For Sorella Brella, Last Ditch Effort and Special Power Up will very likely be ran in zones, and Comeback will probably be ran in place of Last Ditch Effort depending on the map mode. So, it's time for why you clicked on the video, how to fight with the weapon. The most important part of fighting with Brella is to utilise the shield to its fullest extent, using the variety of options it enables when fighting. But before we cover each of the options, we need to take a step back. Remember when I said that Splat Brella dealt 81 damage? That makes it a 2-shot, right? Well yes, but only if you can hit 5 pellets, otherwise it can take up to 7 shots. So how do we get 2 shots consistently? The way I find it easier to aim is to aim slightly down, at about the waist of my opponents, as there's slightly more room for error. The same aiming rules can also apply to Undercover Intent if you're struggling to hit the maximum damage with them as well. So now that we've covered how to 2-shot a bit more consistently, we can move on to more advanced techniques. The first of these that I'll cover is shield flaring, as it doesn't take too much to explain and is incredibly useful in a lot of situations, so will carry you through loads and is something that you'd learn quickly enough anyway. Flaring involves raising and lowering your shield between enemy shots to minimize the amount of damage you take when fighting. However, it doesn't do the best when fighting weapons that can hit around your shield, so you need to be wary of blasters and some sloshers because of that. The next technique I'll cover is dropping your shield into swimming. This is useful to throw off your enemies, a mix-up tool, close for distance, or if you're in a pinch it can be used to retreat without conceding space immediately. Part of what makes this such a powerful option is that swimming is the fastest method of movement in the game. I will admit that it can be a bit tricky to get the hang of when closing distances and moving around opponents, as you have to constantly adjust your aim. But once you get that down, it's a very useful tool in your arsenal of mix-up options, especially against weapons that are reliant on spacing you out to fight. The last option is something you don't really want to do but can be done in certain situations, and it's launching your shield, such as launching it into a corner to super jump out of a bad situation, or to exploit the caveman brain of other players who choose to target the shield instead of you because it's a bigger target and more colourful. That's my best guess. I will admit I am a bit guilty of this, and everyone is. But then how do you fight Brella's counters like blasters, splatanas, buckets, brushes and rollers? Well, the simple answer is to try to exploit their weaknesses the best you can. Let's start with rollers and brushes, as they both hit over your shield, so need to be treated with caution when they're on higher ground. But they both have similar weaknesses when going against any weapon really, but Brella as well. And that's that they can get outranged quite easily. So an easy way to deal with them is to just keep track of them and don't let them get close. And they do have a slightly slow kill time, so as long as you keep track of them, they're not that bad to deal with. But if they get on top of you, they can be tricky to deal with. Buckets are similar when going against Brellas, as they can also hit around your shield, with Machine being the biggest culprit of this because of its janky hitbox. But the thing that they have over brushes and rollers is that they can hit over your shield when on level ground, so you need to deal with them a bit more cautiously. And in my experience, the best way is to attack them from an off angle and get the jump on them before they can react. But if they are reacting to you, the best way is to stall them out and exploit their slightly slower rate of fire and get a teammate in faster, or just flare your shield and close the gap slightly and kill them that way. But the next one is blasters, and they can be quite a bit trickier to deal with because they're reliant on spacing, and so a good blaster will space you out, or try to at least, and so you need to use that advantage. You need to use their spacing to your advantage and close the gap to hit them more reliably and get out of their effective range. Splatanas are by far the hardest, as there are two very different ways of fighting them. So with wipers, you have to rush them down a bit more and not allow them to space you out. They're basically a blaster but with longer range, a higher strafe speed, and that makes them really tricky for brellas to deal with, especially when you count their insanely high damage multiplier against shield. But with Stamper, it is a lot easier because they are way slower and can be effectively stalled much better until they run out of ink, and then they have to run off. Or in other cases, they'll just overly commit to the fight and end up dying, so Stamper's not really that bad a matchup for Brella, despite it being on paper one of the worst matchups. But yeah, that's about it for this video. But if you want to know any other things about Brella, or just meet other Brella players, feel free to join this Brella community Discord linked in the description below. Remember to like the video, subscribe, and share it with anyone you know that might be interested, even a little bit in Splat Brella, as it's a weapon I enjoy very deeply and want to share with as many people as possible. Anyway, one last surprise at the end right now, a funny pro chara moment involving my Brella from his stream of guessing people's ranks like 4 months ago, because it was funny. That's all. Bye.